Alchemy. What comes to your mind when you hear this word? Dark dungeons, toxic fumes, and mad men trying to turn lead into gold. But let me tell you something, alright? Backhand index pointing right, all of that is false. Alchemy was one of the greatest scientific attempts in the history of humanity. And we completely misunderstood it. Alchemy was not a simple act of sorcery or a way to get rich. Alchemy was the most courageous, most passionate, most dangerous, and perhaps the most tragic scientific attempt humanity has ever seen. They were the precursors of modern chemistry, of modern medicine, of metallurgy, and perhaps even of quantum physics. They were the rebellious adolescents of science. In those dark laboratories, among explosions and the smell of heavy metals, they were not merely boiling elixirs. They were chasing something far greater, far more terrifying. They were trying to decipher the source code of the universe. They wanted to intervene in the matter created by God and redesign it. Today, we open the door to those dusty dungeons. We remove the veil of magic that has covered them for centuries and look at the naked truth beneath. Science. If you are ready, meet the forbidden father of science, the true face of alchemy. Everything began with a single sentence. At the foundation of this thousands of years-long search, the sweat that was shed and the fortunes that were spent lay an ancient mystery. Legends take us to the hot sands of Egypt thousands of years ago. There we hear of a legendary figure named Hermes Trismegistus, a king, a priest, and a sage all at once. And of the mysterious legacy he left to humanity, the Emerald Tablet. According to legend, inscribed upon this tablet made of emerald was the ultimate secret of how the universe works. For alchemists, this tablet was a sacred text. But the most striking phrase on it consisted of only a few words. What is above is like what is below, and what is below is like what is above. In Latin, quod est superius, sicut quod est inferius. This was not a simple phrase. It was the very worldview of the alchemists. So what does this sentence tell us when viewed through the lens of the physicist? It was the most poetic expression of the idea that the universe has a fractal and holographic structure. Think of it this way. Just as that immense system formed by planets, stars, and galaxies, the macrocosm, operates the microcosm, the smallest structure of matter invisible to the human eye, operates under the same rules. Recall the classical atomic model we learn in modern physics. A nucleus at the center and electrons orbiting around it, just like a sun at the center with planets orbiting it, right? Alchemists, in an age without telescopes or microscopes, made this connection intuitively. For them, understanding the sky meant understanding the earth. The movement of the stars influenced the formation of metals. Matter was not a dead, cold, lifeless mass as we think today. To alchemists, matter was alive. It had a soul. It breathed. They saw mineral deposits deep within the earth as a kind of womb. Metals were like fetuses growing, developing, and maturing within that dark and warm womb. And this is exactly where the art of alchemy came into play. The alchemist was the one who intervened in this slow and patient process of nature. When we think of alchemy, we immediately think of gold. Those greedy men we see in movies, turning everything into gold to gain infinite wealth. But let's stop and think for a moment. Why gold? Why not silver, copper, or platinum? Was the alchemist's obsession with this metal simply because it could be spent in the marketplace? No, it wasn't about economics. It was about thermodynamics. It was about entropy. Let's look at one of the most fundamental laws of the universe, the second law of thermodynamics. This law tells us that everything in the universe tends toward disorder over time, decays, and disappears. We call this entropy. Even the strongest iron door eventually rusts and decays. Silver tarnishes. Food spoils. And humans grow old, fall ill, and die. Everything in nature bears the destructive fingerprint of time. Everything is destined to be mortal. Except one thing, gold. Gold is the only metal that defies this cruel law of nature. Even if it remains buried in damp soil for thousands of years, it does not rust. Even if it is submerged in acids, it does not dissolve. Even if it is thrown into fire, it does not darken. It never loses its shine, its purity, or its essence. It is the immortal king of the elements. For alchemists, gold was not currency, but the most perfect and divine form matter could achieve. In their eyes, lead, iron, or copper were sick metals. Imperfect, incomplete, mortal, and raw beings that had not yet completed their development. To them, lead was simply gold that had not yet matured. If you could leave that lead underground for millions more years, it too would grow and turn into gold. The alchemists said, I cannot wait that long. I will accelerate time in my laboratory. I will complete the work nature left unfinished. I will heal these sick metals. This way of thinking is, in fact, the foundation of modern medicine. Just as a doctor heals a sick body and restores it to health, the alchemists try to heal sick metals. That is why the art of alchemy was called the great work, the magnum opus. And for this process of healing, they needed a legendary remedy, the philosopher's stone. In Latin, lapis philosophorum. This stone was not a magical rock as depicted in movies. It was a catalyst, a powerful red substance capable of penetrating the essence of matter, cleansing its impurities, and reorganizing its molecular structure. The belief was this stone was so powerful that it would not only heal metals. If you could produce a special liquid from it, an elixir, the elixir of life, you could save the human body from decay, just like gold. You could stop aging, erase diseases, and perhaps even defeat death. Alchemy was, in reality, the first and greatest scientific war humanity waged against time and death. So, after centuries of effort, fortune spent, and lives lost among toxic fumes, what happened? Did they succeed? If you look at history books, the answer is a big no. Alchemy is considered a scientific failure. We call them dreamers and move on. But when we look deeper, their problem was not that they were dreamers. Their tragedy was far more technical, far deeper. Their problem was this. Backhand index pointing right, they were searching for the right thing in the wrong place. What they were trying to do, we now call transmutation, transforming one element into another, turning lead into gold. Today, thanks to modern atomic physics, we know that the identity of an element is not determined by its clothes, but by its core. That is, the number of protons in the atom's nucleus. A lead atom has 82 protons in its core. A gold atom has 79. If you want to turn lead into gold, you must descend into the heart of that atom and forcibly remove 3 protons. This was the wall the alchemists crashed into. This process is not chemistry. Chemistry only deals with electrons in the outer shell of atoms. With fire, with acids, with distillation, you can only move electrons. But touching the nucleus? Changing the number of protons? That is nuclear physics. That requires colossal energy, the kind of violence that occurs in the hearts of stars. The alchemists, with their weak candle flames, coal furnaces, and glass vessels, were trying to do the work of a nuclear reactor. They were trying to break the nucleus of an atom with a hammer, but that hammer was only scratching the surface of the atom. Their methods were flawed. Their energy levels were insufficient. Their technology lagged thousands of years behind their dreams. You cannot change the foundation of a building by painting its exterior. This was the tragedy of the alchemists. They were geniuses searching for nuclear physics in a chemistry lab. The alchemists failed, at least when it came to gold. Or so we think. Perhaps they never found the philosopher's stone. Perhaps they never turned lead into gold. But in those laboratories, among those desperate experiments, they accidentally discovered something far more important. While searching for gold, they discovered phosphorus. While seeking immortality, they discovered gunpowder. They discovered porcelain, what they called white gold. They set out with the wrong maps and discovered entirely new continents. We owe many of the elements that built the modern world to the stubbornness of those men we once called magicians. And do you know what is the most striking part? The person who fell under this obsession. Backhand index pointing right was not an ordinary one. Even the most rational, most mathematical, most scientific mind history has ever seen was drawn into this mystery. The architect of the mechanical universe. The man who discovered the law of gravity. The father of modern physics, Isaac Newton. We remember him as the scientist of the apple tree and formulas. But when Newton died, the thousands of pages of manuscripts found in his secret chest were not about physics or mathematics. Newton devoted 30 years of his life, in secret, hiding from the church and the academic world, to deciphering alchemical formulas. Why did the most intelligent man in the world believe in this superstition? Was Newton trying to solve a secret beyond physics that we do not know? Was the man who discovered gravity actually searching for the philosopher's stone? The answer to this question is one of the greatest mysteries in the history of science. In the next video, we will open Isaac Newton's secret chest and meet the alchemist side of the greatest genius in history, a side almost no one knows, the last magician. In the next video, we will open that chest together. See you.